I was just a taxi driver in New York, but that night's ride changed my entire life. The woman sitting in the back seat was my long-lost mother, after 29 years apart.
I'm a taxi driver in New York. No one knows my name. No one cares whether I live or die. Every day I drive dozens of people through the towering skyscrapers, watching countless faces pass through my life without leaving a single trace. I live like a shadow in this city. Until one day I picked up a passenger and realized I had just driven my own mother home. She sat in the back seat wearing a beige fur coat, her silver hair elegant, as if she had stepped straight out of a magazine. I recognized her voice, even though I had never heard it before. That voice made my heart stop, cold, proud, yet painfully familiar. When she stepped out of the car in front of a mansion on the Upper East Side, I saw her drop something. I got out, bent down, and picked it up. It was a necklace. The pendant was a teardrop-shaped charm engraved with the letter J. I had seen it before, in a recurring dream I'd had since childhood. A hand wearing this very necklace once held me in a warm embrace. I stood frozen. Before I could say a word, the gate shut behind her. I live in a rented room, barely 8 steps wide. The paint is peeling off the walls. The wooden floor creaks every time I turn in my sleep. The bathroom is shared with 5 strangers, and the water heater broke last winter. I've grown so used to cold showers that my skin no longer feels pain. Only numbness. Just like my life, no feeling left except mere existence. I eat instant noodles boiled in an electric kettle. On days with more passengers, I treat myself to an egg. On slow days, I drink water and sleep early. Every month, rent, car insurance, gas, slowly drain the few dollars left in my nearly empty account. I still haven't paid off the car repair debt from 3 months ago. I don't have a credit card, I don't have health insurance. I don't have anyone to call when the fever keeps me up at night. I have no one. I don't know who my parents are. No one ever held me when I cried. No one picked me up from school. No one taught me how to tie my shoelaces. No one taught me to say thank you. Everything I know I learned on my own, from the streets, from strangers passing through my life like fleeting winds. I've been a waiter, a porter, a car washer, a babysitter. I've done everything to survive, but never enough to live like a man of value. I am a shadow, a name printed on bureaucratic papers. James, a string of syllables, a file number. A man no one looks for, no one remembers, no one needs. And yet, that ride today lit a spark inside me. I don't know why, but I want to believe that maybe, just once, I'm not an accident. That necklace wasn't just jewelry, but a memory, a trace, a fragile red thread connecting me to someone who might once have called me son. I've had nothing for 29 years. If I'm wrong, I'll keep living this way. But if I'm right, just once I want to know what it feels like to belong to someone, to somewhere. I returned to the mansion the next afternoon. This time I didn't wear a coat. I didn't own one decent enough. Just an old hoodie, frayed at the collar, faintly smelling of gasoline from the oil change I'd done yesterday. I stood before the towering gate in a neighborhood where a single paving stone probably cost as much as my rent for an entire year. People passing by looked at me as if I'd lost my way, and they were right. My whole life, I had never belonged anywhere with white walls, security guards, cameras, and a woman in a fur coat sitting in the back seat of my taxi the night before. I pressed the doorbell. My hand trembled. Not out of fear, but because there was a strange feeling in my chest, one I had never known before. Hope. A man in a black suit appeared. "What do you need?" I pulled out the necklace. "The lady living here dropped this in my cab. I came to return it." He glanced at the pendant, then disappeared inside. I stood there. The air was cold. My shoes were still damp from yesterday's rain, soaking my feet through the only pair I owned. I tried not to imagine anything, but I couldn't help it. If she was my mother, why did she leave me? Why didn't she come back? Why let me live 30 years as an invisible man? The gate opened. She stepped out, slowly, each step hesitant, as if she didn't want to face me, yet couldn't turn away. I lifted my head. Our eyes met. For the first time in my life, I looked at someone and my heart wanted to collapse. Not from pain, but because my chest couldn't bear the feeling of once being loved, then losing it. She looked at the necklace, then at me. Her hand trembled. Her eyes glistened with tears. I bit my lip. I didn't dare speak, because if I said it, if I told her I was James, the abandoned child, the boy who had lived like a ghost for 29 years, I was afraid she would deny it. Afraid the dream I had clung to my entire life was a lie. But then she whispered, "James." Her voice broke like a taut string snapping. I stood frozen, not from surprise, but because I had waited my entire life to hear my name called, with love. I didn't need anyone else to believe I was her son. I just needed her to believe. And in that moment, I knew I was no longer poor, no longer invisible, no longer alone. She asked for a DNA test the next day. I didn't suggest it. She was the one whose hands trembled as she held a strand of my hair and whispered through tears, "If you are James, I've lost you for 30 years. I need to be certain, not because I doubt you, but because I need to make things right." I nodded. I had nothing to lose, but deep down I already knew. I had always known, from the very first look. 3 days later, the results came back. 99.99% match. I am James, the biological son of Miriam, a powerful, renowned woman in the fashion and real estate world on the East Coast of the US. And I am the crack in her perfect life. The shadow she thought time had erased. The one her current family wished had stayed forgotten. Especially Ethan. Ethan, the only adopted son she raised, who grew up surrounded by luxury, inside the mansion, in my mother's arms. The one she once introduced to the world as the greatest pride of my life. And now, I was the ink stain ruining the spotless page. I met Ethan at dinner that evening. He shook my hand. A polite smile, a firm enough grip to send a clear message. "I know who you are, and you're not welcome here." "Welcome, home," Ethan said aloud, but his eyes told a different story. I didn't blame him. I understood. If I were him, I'd be afraid too, because everything he had, status, power, inheritance, existed under one condition. I did not exist. But now, I had returned. I didn't touch the money. I didn't ask for a share of the fortune. I didn't demand to be added to the will. I simply slept in my old room, the one my mother had kept untouched for 29 years. All I wanted was to have my mother back. But even that alone was something Ethan couldn't stand. He began to drip venom slowly, a snide remark at dinner. Wonder if a taxi driver knows anything about stocks. A sideways glance at the maid. Better check if anything's gone missing. After all, he's a stranger. One morning, I found my mother's financial files disturbed and a corporate report torn to pieces and thrown in my trash bin. I didn't react. I didn't argue. I had lived long enough in loneliness to understand this truth. Those who want you gone will try to drive you insane before they strike. But I was no longer the lost James. I was the James who survived. And if Ethan thought I was weak, he was making the same mistake the whole world once made. 3 days later, my brakes were cut. The old car I used for taxi work suddenly skidded out of control on a downhill turn from Brooklyn to Queens. I twisted the steering wheel wildly. No brakes, no handbrake. Only the piercing scream of tires scraping the asphalt and the acrid smell of burning rubber. I crashed straight into the guardrail. Thankfully, no one was hurt. I sat behind the wheel, hands still trembling from shock and fury. Police said there were clear signs of tampering with the hydraulic system. Someone had done this intentionally. I knew who it was, but I didn't say a word. I stayed silent, like I always had. But this time, I prepared. I installed a camera in my room. I hid tiny recording devices under the dining table, in the hallway, even in my mother's office, where Ethan often came and went, as if he owned the place. And within just a few days, I had what I needed. One night, I lay in bed listening to a recording from that morning, Ethan's voice. "He won't last long. Mom's just being blinded by emotions. Let me handle it." Another clip, his conversation with the family lawyer's assistant. "No need to change the will. James has no financial record, no income, no tax history. There's no way Mom would leave anything to some penniless nobody." I laughed, not a happy laugh. The kind of laugh from someone who's been looked down on for so long that pain has turned into fuel. A week later, I volunteered to reorganize my mother's personal financial documents. I told her, "Not to prove anything. I just want to do something truly useful." She agreed. I spent 3 consecutive nights in the private library, and I uncovered what Ethan never thought I'd find. Over $2 million siphoned from small funds under my mother's name over the past 3 years, channeled through a shell company in Delaware, Registered Agent Ethan M. Kingsley. I printed everything. No confrontation. I waited. That evening, we had a small family dinner. A few distant relatives, some business partners, the family lawyer. The atmosphere was refined, soft lights glowing, wine glasses full. I stood up mid-meal. "Excuse me, I have some documents I'd like everyone to see." Ethan looked up, eyes narrowing slightly. I handed over the printouts. Silence filled the room for a minute. Then came murmurs. One lawyer flipped to the last page. A signature, power of attorney from Mrs. Miriam, but no original signature. Forged? My mother's face went pale. Ethan shot to his feet. "Who do you think you are to—" "I'm her son," I cut him off. "I'm the one who lived 29 years forgotten, unwanted, and I didn't come back here to be erased again." Ethan's temper snapped. He strode toward me. "You're nothing, a nobody, a piece of trash from the streets who thinks he has the— If I'm trash, then your hands are the ones digging through garbage to get rid of me." My mother rose from her seat. She returned with the folder in her hand.
The dining room fell into a deadly silence. Every pair of eyes turned to Miriam, the powerful woman now standing between two sons, clutching the folder with trembling hands as if unable to believe the cold numbers staring back at her. She flipped through the pages. Her eyes were bloodshot, her lips pressed tight, like she was tasting a pain of her own making. Ethan stood there, trying to keep his voice steady. "Mom, this can be explained. You know me? I've never done anything to hurt you." "Never hurt me?" She lifted her head, eyes blazing. "What about withdrawing funds from my reserves for 3 years without a word? Forging my signature on a power of attorney? And James's car brakes?" Her voice broke on the last words. Ethan stepped back half a pace. "He's making it up. I never touched his car." "Really?" I said coldly. "I have a copy of the police technical report, footage from the front gate showing you leaving the garage with a toolbox, and a recording." I played the small device hidden in my jacket pocket, right there in the room. Ethan's voice filled the silence. "Let me handle it. He won't last long. If you're feeling conflicted, I can make him disappear and no one will ask questions." My mother staggered as if slapped. The maid rushed to support her. Her lips trembled. "Ethan, why would you do this?" Ethan shouted, "Because you let him come back. Because I've been here my whole life, and he vanished for 30 years only to show up and take everything. Because I can't accept it. And you chose sabotage, attempted murder, embezzlement?" She stepped back, pulling out her phone. "Get out of my house, right now, or I'll call the police." "No, Mom, you can't. Get out of my house, Ethan." Her voice was a command that shattered a rotten empire from within. Ethan stumbled out of the dining room. I didn't look after him. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't win. I just stood there in my wrinkled shirt, with scars still on my face from the brake-cutting crash, and oil stains on my hands from fixing my cab every week. I didn't look like an heir. I didn't need to. Because for the first time in my life, I no longer needed to beg for a place. I already had one. My mother came to me, holding my hand. "Do you hate me?" she whispered. I looked up at her, and in her eyes, there was no trace of the cold, powerful businesswoman, only a mother afraid of losing her child again. I shook my head. "Number, I just wanted to be called your son. Once, and today, you did."